Hey everybody, it is now 5:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope you're well. Zenny 62 Media, credentialed to cover Super Bowl 59, and due to my hip injury, we're doing so remotely, but we get all the press releases, and also we've had interviews with such notables as Tara, the great pickleball representative. Tara Bernstein is her name, who came on our show yesterday, and I thank you very much for watching and for retweeting and sending out her fantastic interview with Zenny 62 Media. Today, we have something that is unfortunate. Oh, I should mention that Craig Ellenport, the great editor with Athlon, who was with Sports Illustrated, had to cancel because of his own schedule getting really chocked full down in New Orleans. But we left the light on form in the form of the studio, and so we're going to rearrange that and bring Craig back to talk about Super Bowl 59, either Saturday or after, or maybe the day of the game, which I seriously doubt. But right now, I'm here to talk about a very sad tragedy. I have had the pleasure of being credentialed to cover Super Bowl week of game on a number of occasions and attend the Super Bowl now 10 times. I have never heard of a situation where a reporter was murdered after meeting a woman on the street at the Super Bowl. Now, that looks like what may have happened, but Kerner police are not ready to make that jump simply because they don't have any evidence to tie her directly to that act. They only have evidence that directly points the person I'm about to name to the action of robbing Telemundo reporter, the great Telemundo reporter, I should add, and sadly great Adam Manzano. It's not Adam, it's Adan Manzano from Kansas City. And the story basically goes like this, because it turns out, folks, that in my research, she has a track record of what I'm about to report that goes all the way back at least to 2014. But if you consider that this is 2025, that's 11 years. 2 days ago, Telemundo Super Bowl 59 reporter, 27-year-old Adam Manzano, was robbed and possibly killed by a woman. He was definitely killed, but possibly killed by a woman named Danette Colbert, who's 47. Danette Colbert of Slidell was arrested Friday after an investigation revealed that she was reportedly using Mr. Manzano's credit cards at multiple stores in New Orleans area, according to the Kerner Police Department. And so the Kerner Police have said that Danette Colbert is being charged for robbery, but not murder, because they can't tie her to the death of Adam Manzano. A credit card and cell phone belonging to Mr. Manzano were found during a search of Colbert's home, Kerner Police Chief Keith Conley said. Also found were drugs and a stolen firearm, which police said they don't believe is related to this case. Officers said security cameras captured Colbert with Manzano on Wednesday morning, then leaving the hotel room alone later that same morning. Manzano, 27 years old, died Wednesday in New Orleans while on assignment for Telemundo Kansas City and Tico Sports KGKC television, said in a news release, as reported by Nexstar and WDAF. KGKC did not say how he died. Also, at this point, Danette Colbert has a track record of events like this that, but no deaths, all right, that go back to 2014. She was also arrested for prostitution reportedly just days before this crime against Adan Manzano was committed. Security footage showed Colbert and Manzano entering a Comfort Suites hotel room together at 4:30 in the morning Wednesday, Conley said. Colbert allegedly left the room shortly after, but returned a second time. She then left again around 6 in the morning and never returned, Conley said. Manzano was never seen leaving the room. In 2022, the same Danette Colbert, then 45 years old, was first arrested by Las Vegas police in a January 17th theft at the Wynn. A man reported to police that he invited two women he met in a bar to his hotel room, according to an arrest report. He later woke up in his room with a bloody nose and discovered that $50,000 cash, a Rolex watch worth $30,000, $11,000 in casino chips, his iPhone 11, a Louis Vuitton luxury bag worth $5,000, and a satchel valued at $2,000 were all missing. The man said he made drinks for the women in his room, but gave one woman $200 to leave because she was rude. The last thing he remembers, the report said, is walking the woman to the door of the room. Quote, he believes he may have been drugged, police said. Police collected a urine sample from the man for testing. They said video surveillance confirmed the man's account of going to the room with the two women, and that one woman left about 5 minutes before the second. Police identified the second woman in the video as Ms. Colbert. In 2024, it was reported that a New Orleans woman charged with drugging a man and stealing $50,000 in cash from him on the Strip in January was arrested in a similar theft that Saturday. So, as you can tell, she's got a track record that goes back some time. But you would say, other than the local news, what little local news there's been, why has there not been more attention paid to this? I think it's a combination of some reporters just wanting to pay attention to the good news that is the Super Bowl and not muddy the waters with this bad publicity. But the simple fact of the matter is that this did happen. It led to the death of, among other things, a Super Bowl reporter, and it unmasks some behavior that you can't control what a person is going to do, and let alone can you tell them what to do and not to do when they're out freely operating as adults. But you can at least offer them a warning. And in this instance, such a warning would have been helpful, in my opinion, to Mr. Manzano, who was already suffering from his wife's death from a year ago and was left with just his toddler, who ostensibly has a babysitter. But now the toddler is without either the mother or the father in an extremely tearfully sad situation. And I pray for everyone involved in this. Even I pray for Danielle that she finds her better self, and if there's any hope for her in the future, she better not be tied to his murder directly. But unfortunately, from what research I've done, folks, it appears the opposite is the case, because there are examples and instances of women who go to Las Vegas or New Orleans who are essentially trafficked. In fact, there was a 62-year-old lawyer who was just jailed last week in Las Vegas for being a kind of a pimp for a number of women in Las Vegas, but he's also an attorney. And he made them promises like, I'll make you rich, I'll take care of you, and that sort of thing. And they bought it, but they also were fed with copious amounts of drugs to get him to be able to better direct them to do what he wants and make money off them. Well, now he's incarcerated. But all roads point to the possibility that it may very well be that Miss Colbert, that is one of the women that was under the quote supervision unquote of this man. That has not yet been solidified as a confirmation. There's a lot more to go here, and one has to be careful when they go to Las Vegas or New Orleans, and it's incumbent upon media organizations to tell their reporters to not fraternize in that way. And if you're going to quote fraternize unquote, at least make it with someone that is working there, who you know, who won't be responsible for this kind of behavior, a known reporter, or there's some people that are there for marketing, operating booths at the NFL exhibits and the NFL experience. If you're going to get involved with someone, first of all, let it be someone you know, so you know their background, and let it be someone, and let it be a case where you're not married. To be honest, this is really sad. It is beyond sad to happen, and it should be talked about more, if only to send a simple warning to everybody else: hey, this isn't to happen. But the reality is that the bigger reality is that New Orleans has just come off an awful situation where 14 people lost their lives on New Year's Eve due to a psychotic gunman in the French Quarter. And so the city of New Orleans, the National Football League, and the associated sponsors have went the extra mile to make sure that everyone perceives this Super Bowl as a safe Super Bowl. And here we have this. And it's something that, should be talked about. How do you go about preventing this? Well, again, it's difficult to monitor adults. And in some cases, there may be illegal issues tied to it, depending on the business relationship. And also certainly business issues that are tied to that as well. But the bottom line is, if you're a reporter and you're representing another organization, there is a morals clause involved that you really have to pay attention to. And if it's not there in any agreement that you've made, it's implied. So it's really tearfully sad. The person involved here is clearly, and folks may not like this term, a man-eater. She has the same pattern, but it all is based around the cover of the man asking her to the man's room first. She simply says, "You want a party?" or something like that, and the man takes it from there. That is consistent. That behavior is consistent in the research that I've done. It's absolutely consistent. And so you have to say two things. First of all, since there are two instances where she's gotten into physical altercations with her clients, and one of those altercations because a person recognized her on the street, even though this person wasn't a client, but recognized her as being involved in a crime, and she went to beat this person up. That's her mentality. All right, that's her mentality. Then it's a fair bet that she was, if not directly responsible for Adan's murder, then at least an accessory in some kind of way. So this is not a story that's going to just go away, and it shouldn't. And it should be talked about by more people, if only to send a warning to say, look, be careful today, because it's a more complicated situation than ever. For example, she was in Las Vegas January 17th in 2022, and you would say, why? Now, from my experience, I go to CES Las Vegas, which is the first week of January, and it lasts through generally the 10th or the 9th, depending on how the dates are allowed, people stay a little later. It may very well be that she was there originally for CES to meet well-moneyed individuals. I remember a time, this goes back 10 years, when I was hungry, went out to Hex at 4 a.m. to have breakfast, early breakfast, and I found my way on the way to Hex into the Cosmopolitan, and there was a show going on right in the middle of the Cosmopolitan lobby. That was part of CES. It was a promotion, and I sat down to watch, and I believe I have photographs of it, but maybe even a video. But when I went to sit down at the bar to have a drink, a woman sat next to me, but then said absolutely nothing. And I didn't say anything. And I sensed something was weird. So there were two guys that came to her right, but they pretended like they weren't with her. And I thought, you know what? I'm not going to say anything. This is weird. And then, except to say, I said, well, how do you all do? Or something like that. So I made a point to talk to all of them, not just her. And what I got back was absolutely wacko. Basically, anyone who's at CES Las Vegas is generally there to present a business or their media, or their buyers. It's generally they fall into one of those categories. Very seldom do you get, well, not that's not true. You do get the general public for the exhibit hall, so that's not quite true. But the point I'm making is, even then, with the exhibit hall, the number of people that represent the general public is roughly, I would say, about a little bit more than those who are in the business of CES. Let me cut to the chase here. It's not unusual to ask someone if they say that they're there for CES and they represent a product, what their booth number is. Everybody knows what their booth number is, unless, of course, you're media. Now, I'm media. And I said, hey, what's your product? I'll come and visit your booth. Do you realize they got angry with me and said nobody knows what their booth number is? That was a dead giveaway. These folks were not who they said they were. And I believe to this day that those two men were essentially pimps for that woman. Okay? Because I have been credentialed to cover CES going all the way back to 2010. The common banter is about, well, your product. A person who is there representing their product or company is proud to talk about their product or company. All right? That's consistent. So the one time that I encounter someone who isn't, were these knuckleheads. Oh, these knuckleheads. And they proceeded to double down on it by making fun of me. Okay? Man, I could have done anything. I could have taken a photograph of them or a video, anything. Because that's how stupid these guys were. To be, insulting like that. How did I counter it? I continue to be friendly. Because it's clear that they were on an agenda that basically boils down to up to no good. Up to no good. All right? So there's a system of these people running around, I believe, who are also responsible for, or have been responsible for, you remember this wave of thefts in big box retail, where you get these hordes of teenagers? They weren't doing that on their own. And in one case, there was a couple, I believe out of Texas, that was arrested for basically, being the leaders of these kids. Some awful stuff going on. And you would say, why is all this going on? It's because we've let a significant part of our economy go offshore. Too much of it. You call AT&T or you call any organization, it seems, and so next you're talking to someone who's in the Philippines or India or Mexico. Those are people representing monies paid to them that should be paid to someone in America so that the dollar circulates through the American economy. And yet we're just Jim Dandy to allow that leakage to occur, and we do absolutely nothing about it. Nothing. And meanwhile, the population in the United States has not stopped growing. It has slowed down. The birth rates have slowed down, with the only ethnic group having an increasing birth rate being Hispanics. But since I was born in 1962 till now, America's population has doubled. So for those who say that someone of color is replacing someone white, that is patently mathematically wrong. If anything, all that's happening is that both groups and numbers are growing, and we have allowed more and more different kinds of people, fortunately, to be in this society and thriving economically. And so when you have enough money, you give you have a family and give births and all of that. And we're now in the third generation of interracial marriage and all that comes with that, which means more births and more additions to the population. So the way Americans think about the population is completely wrong with respect to how the population really is. Really is. It's more complex than ever. But what's going on is that the ability to make money has shrunk, and it's shrinking even more and becoming more specialized with the advent of the second generation of artificial intelligence. To me, the first generation were very simple things like online devices that you would operate that seem like they're intelligent, search algorithms and so on. And yet, we say that beyond a certain level of complexity that they are. You see what I'm getting at? But now we're really getting into robotics, humanoid machines. And that's going to take on the second generation of AI, as I view AI. And we've only scratched the surface of how that's going to change our society. Buckle up. But the bottom line is, well, does that mean there will be no jobs? No. It means that the jobs will be more specialized. Al here says it's because America will not subsidize worker salaries. True. There's no stopping jobs going overseas until the American worker gets paid less by the employer. And right. And what we want to have is that's going to damage our lifestyle. I argue it's already happening. I argue that, and thank you for the comment, Al, go Raiders. I argue that the alteration in our economy is causing plane crashes, people who are working double shifts as air traffic controllers, bridges that need to be rebuilt and refurbished that are not, because the funds to do it either aren't there or not prioritized, or some combination of both. And we have more and more people using these items of infrastructure, causing greater wear at a greater rate. And they're collapsing. And we're doing nothing about it. And then there's something else that we need to talk about in another video, and that's the advent of the over-permissiveness of the use of drugs that I believe is impacting negatively our workplace. We not talk about it. I'm not saying we go back to putting the genie back in the bottle in terms of marijuana, but we do need to have a marketing effect that warns people of the use of marijuana and psychedelics, and have drugs that can help people recover from those effects quickly, because it's noted that overuse of marijuana has psychotic actions or reactions. How do we know that's not contributing to suicides, mass shootings, and so on, along with the economic pressures? So you have the economic pressures, right? And you have the drug pressures, and it's making American society batty. I argue. We have to stop that twin pressure and open it up so that we're not at each other's throats. We're not susceptible to left-right politics communicated online or messages hammered to us again and again and again. And we're more capable of understanding complex legislation. I argue that we're not, because of the factors that, because our minds are distracted. We've done nothing about it. So we got some problems, folks, we need to straighten out. And organizations like the NFL need to play a role, just in, first of all, warning your reporters about who's out there and what's out there, because the economic pressures have created this situation where the Danette Colberts of the world are man-eaters out there looking for the next man they can take advantage of. That's what's going on. Subscribe to Zenny62 on YouTube and bookmark NFL News by Zenny62.com. That ends this broadcast stream. Thanks.